Dance, Winslow! Dance! Come on, you boys, do what do here? How we got to the woods last year? Into the same we just started. These are putting a big dog.
Very often, I have the atmosphere of the film in my head before I have the story. Of a black and white, crusty, dusty, rusty, musty world in a boxy aspect ratio with the pipe smoke and the facial hair and the Guernsey sweaters and the salt cod. And what's the story that then suits that atmosphere? I knew that I wanted this movie to be black and white as soon as I figured that it was a two-hander in a lighthouse. Many of the shots are in the script as is, but a lot of the stuff is in collaboration with my cinematographer, Jaron Blaschke. We collaborate very closely on the cinematic language.
Jaron, can you pan left a little?
And the clarity and the specificity would not be there without Jaron's input.
I think what's important for him and what he does and what's really exciting for me is that he wants to transport people. This time it felt like it could be more photographic, just add that extra layer or two just photographically to take you there.
Black and white film stock has a look that you can't achieve any other way. And we wanted to have a look that was closer to orthochromatic film because that early film stock shows the imperfections in your skin. And so Rob and Willem would look more weathered and we would see every pore. So Schneider made a custom cyan filter for us.
To evoke this time, one thing that would really help is this orthochromatic look, so the film would see blue and green and ultraviolet, and that's it. So the film is insensitive to red. Of course, red is a predominant color in skin tone. So your skin tones get really dark, and any fluctuation would be very pronounced. Like blemishes, any little blood vessels, whatever, get really dark, because those would be more red, therefore darker. So, and blue eyes kind of can get eerie, like Willem's eyes, if you really look, are actually light and very pronounced against the pupil. So, yeah, one shot that's interesting, it might be too subtle to really see, is when Winslow finally climbs Lighthouse at the end, looks at the bulb. And so the whole movie, we've had this filter, right? Red light is forbidden. He has this craggy appearance. And he goes up there, he's covered in blood, which is red, so it looks black. If you notice, before it gets overexposed, the blood kind of washes away. And that was kind of an early idea. Because this orthochromatic look is it's kind of terrestrial, it's very physical, it's very earthy. And the light sort of transcends that. So orthochromatic film sort of emphasizes these short wavelengths. And I wanted to sort of shift when the light beams onto him to red light. The Larry shot is one shot without the filter. We didn't want her to look craggy, right? She's sort of the idealized thing. That's the one shot without the filter. So if you look at his hand, all of a sudden his hand's like kind of normal looking. It's not so dark and haggard. The thing about the filter is that it had like kind of a mirrored front, so it kind of shines stuff back. So you always had to look out for this kind of projected rectangle on the set.
Put your hand towards the lens.
When the film was just an idea, it was just atmosphere. It was going to be 1-3-3, which is an aspect ratio he loves.
Let's have you lean into shot and I realize that she's
Sorry,
dead.
hang on.
I was sort of aware of this movie tone aspect ratio, and I said, well, would really do it is if it was 1:19, and then he was surprisingly into it, so it just kind of became that. I had to give him at least an HD video tab, so I have a modern camera.
Action!
Because aspect ratio, they had to mess around with the video tab for months, because it was made for HD, so how do you squeeze it, and that took a month to figure out.
Keep them steady, lad!
Because I wanted to take it a little further photographically, I went to Panavision and, they had some lenses out. They said, oh, here's some ball tars. These were much cooler, just holding them up, which was good news because we wanted to pass a lot of blue light. And they're made in the 30s. The most beautiful portrait lenses I've ever seen. They have a shimmer, the highlights glow, the windows kind of glow. Anytime you have some backlight, it just has a little smoothness to it. The shot of the eye and the peephole, just like the way his skin, the luminosity that, because we're going for a hard orthochromatic look, with like lots of micro contrast, sharp grain, it would just balance that out, add another, layer. As far as day and night, black and white, I found that like the day scenes would be brighter than I would normally go, especially the ortho filter and, making sure the skies are very bright. Because when you cut from night to day, you want that, that impact. There's a lot of weather that's just real. I mean, the most effective one was when they're waiting for the tender on that rock, that kind of dusky scene, and they're just there, and we were just shielding the camera so it didn't, because you have this vertical film magazine that's just a sail, right? So we're trying to like stabilize the camera, but all that, that was just what it was, so what they're there like this, we were there like this, We had some Petzval lenses, which is a late 19th century design. It's like one of the first fast lenses in the 19th century. So it just has a very distinct out of focus background that has just a very swirly optical disaster. So we use that somewhat sparingly. It's like the psychedelic sequences and very like super heightened stuff. The first shot of the movie uses it, and the last shot of the movie, and then there's like some crazy montage stuff that has it.
I'm perhaps more proud of the Lighthouse after the experience of making The Witch, and is much closer to how I imagined the finished film. And part of that is just a learning curve. Like, I hadn't made a feature film before. Now I sort of understand better what I'm gonna get. And the fact that I got to make a strange black and white movie about two lighthouse keepers farting is incredible. And I feel super privileged. When people like what I've done, that means I can potentially make another one. And that's great.